Welcome to Frontline, 6 o'clock here on the East Coast. We begin tonight in Dover, Delaware, where President Trump attended the dignified transfer of the U.S. troops killed in Syria over the weekend. The bodies of Sergeant Edgar Brian Torres Tovar and Sergeant William Nathan Howard returning to American soil one last time. Rest in peace, brothers. We'll take the watch from here. Also, upon returning to Washington, President Trump commented on FBI Deputy Director Dan Bongino leaving his position.
Dan did a great job. I think he wants to go back to his show.
Look, Dan's a great guy. I'm friends with him. I'm really looking forward to getting his voice back into this sphere. And a win for President Trump in the courts, a federal court ruling that National Guard troops can actually remain in D.C. while another panel of judges examines whether President Trump's deployment of them is fully legal. Oh, and a federal judge also allowing construction of Trump's White House ballroom to continue, racking up the dubs today. But first, looks like 4 Republicans are probably going to let us down again, just like John McCain did back in 2017 on health care. Let's do this. Like clockwork, man. There it is. 4 House Republicans today sided with Democrats to force a vote on extending the Affordable Care Act or the Obamacare subsidies. Come on, guys. Brian Fitzpatrick, Rob Bresnan or whatever, Ryan McKenzie, and Mike Lawler. I mean, round of applause. Thanks, guys. And Mike Johnson. Look, this guy, he's great at explaining stuff. He's just not good at doing anything about it. He tried to play the same blame game on CNBC to retract from his failures of leadership on this morning.
Republicans are the ones who will fix health care. It is the Democrats who broke it. Remember when they passed Obamacare, the Unaffordable Care Act, it was 15 years ago now. They promised us that it would enhance care and that premiums would go down for everyone and you'd have more choices. None of that was true.
Then fix it. Democrats may have broken it, but Republicans are not fixing it. Not even by a long shot. That's why I'm on here ranting about this tonight. I swear, this is going to make me go bald, this issue. Republicans have held the House for 12 of the last 16 years and never fixed it. This is my party, and I'm this pissed off about it. They did pass the American Health Care Act in the House in 2017 with a full repeal and replace of Obamacare with tax credits and Medicaid caps and HSA expansions, but John McCain, famously the tie-breaking thumbs down on the Senate floor for the sole reason that he didn't like Donald Trump. John McCain single-handedly stopped the closest thing we've ever come to repealing Obamacare. Thanks, John. So now, here we are with Republicans siding with Democrats to subsidize more of this terrible program instead of fixing it. Oh, but only for 3 years. Ironically, putting that battle again smack dab in the middle of the 2028 presidential election, because that's not by design by Democrats, right? And the 4 Republicans, guys, you thought this was going to be a good idea? I mean, this is Democrats riding the bike along, and then they jam a broomstick in their own spokes of the front tire. They crash, and then they blame Republicans for it. And Republicans always take the bait. They always run to help them by passing some bad legislation so Democrats don't call them bad people. Look, I'm calling this out because I know a bunch of congressmen or their staff watch this, and I'm hoping and praying that you're listening here. I'm not lying. Look, we just talked about this last week. Republicans run on the principles of their base and then govern to appease the moderates. And Democrats run on whatever their base wants, and then they govern on whatever their base wants. If Republicans don't make these things into law and get this through their head, they're going to lose. And Republicans are going to sit there in the minority scratching their head. I don't understand why we didn't have turnout. The better question is, Mike Johnson, why would we show up to vote? Like I just said it last week. And Republicans, they need to grow a spine and actually govern like we won. I mean, we dominated in the last election. We don't have the House and the Senate and the White House by accident. It's because the Democrats did such a horrible job and Republicans promised to do something different, but we're letting Democrats govern from the minority. This healthcare thing is like the perfect example of dysfunction. Democrats literally lost 63 seats in the House after they passed Obamacare because Democrats passed this bill without even reading it.
But we have to pass the bill so that you can find out what is in it.
Yeah, that's how I pass bills all the time. What? but also because Republicans, aided by the Tea Party back in 2010, ran on repealing Obamacare. And then fast forward to December 2025, and Republicans now are helping prop it up. So you and I at home, like, folks, like, if you're watching this show and you're just as angry as I am, you are totally justified in it. I would not fault you if you never donated to another Republican campaign again. It would suck, but you know what? I don't blame you. Healthcare costs everywhere have exploded, even with the subsidies, because the subsidies go into the insurance companies' pockets. They don't go into your pocket, and even Mike Johnson knows this.
Everybody needs to understand there's a false narrative out there about these subsidies. It's subsidizing insurance companies, and when you do that, you're masking the cost, the rising cost of healthcare, and you're making the premiums rise even further.
Yes. Again, he's good at explaining things, not good at doing things to fix them. Renewing those subsidies is just kicking the can down the road again. Republicans have to find a spine and just say, hey, look, no, we're not doing this. Also, this subsidy really only applies to a pretty small group of people.
But here's the false narrative. The Democrats are pretending as though this affects everybody in the country. It affects 7% of Americans, this extended subsidy. And of those, even if it was extended without any reforms at all, it would only reduce that small group of Americans' premiums by 5.7%.
Stop holding 1/6 of our economy hostage for a 5% savings for 7% of the population. They keep saying, well, it's not that simple, Carl. Yes, it is. You just have to do it. Look, Mike, you are the United States government. You have exposure to the greatest resources of the greatest minds in the world. I mean, literally anything you want, you just call somebody up. You have the money, you just print it and you give it to them. I mean, perhaps call some of those people and ask them for help, because Lord knows the people in your office don't seem to be figuring this out. And if you're just going to kick the can down the road again after 15 years, it certainly means that you're not going to solve it in the next 3 years when you got to have this same vote all over again. But what you are going to do by that kicking the can down the road 3 years, you're going to burden J.D. Vance with the one talking point the Democrats will use against him, which is, hey, J.D. Vance, will you, as president, help keep health care costs low by extending these subsidies? Which everybody knows is a trick question, that they're going to get him in every single time, and every single debate, and every single interview, because the media is full of a bunch of liberal hacks. And the Republicans are seemingly, or 4 Republicans are seemingly okay with this. Well, why do we always snatch defeat from the jaws of victory? It's almost like Republicans want to lose. They always talk about what they're going to do when they win. And then when they win, they don't actually do any of it. Guys, there's zero reason we should not be rolling back every piece of Democrat legislation for the last 25, round it up, make it even 50 years. The American people handed the reins to Republicans for a reason. And what do Republicans do? We don't even have a budget. We're still operating on Joe Biden's budget, of which the continuing resolution runs out in a little over a month. And Democrats have said already that they're not going to vote for anything without the Obamacare subsidies in it in the Senate, where Republicans, in an effort to maintain integrity of our institutions, have committed to not nuking the filibuster, which means we can't pass another budget. Dude! Trump won in 2024 because he promised to blow up the institutions. Let's go! And I know Mike Johnson is going to come out and say, well, we just don't have time to overhaul the healthcare system in 30 days, Carl, so we have to extend it. No, you do not. You have had 15 years also, and you just haven't done it during that 15 years. But the answer is also right in front of you guys. You know how many nonprofit think tanks have literally just basically written this bill for you guys? They have raised in the last 15 years billions of dollars in order to have a blueprint ready for you to vote on day one. And most of them are like within a block of the Capitol. Here, look at this. The Heritage Foundation, they put out multiple detailed plans, including, quote, a plan to repeal and replace Obamacare. This is from 2017. Here's one. Oh, this one's actually in the Capitol building. You guys don't even have to put a coat on and go outside to get this one. The Republican Study Committee. That's a House GOP conservative caucus that came up with a very comprehensive legislation-ready framework titled A Framework for Personalized Affordable Care in 2023. And guess who headed that one? Mike Johnson as the chairman. I mean, dude, you can't even pass your own bill? Are you kidding me? Another, I don't even think brought it even for a vote yet. Another one, the American Enterprise Institute, AEI, improving health and health care. Ready to vote on. That's just like 3 of the 500 or so proposals that I was able to find from like a 70-second DuckDuckGo search, because I don't use Google because they're commies. But people have written all these things already. Some of these are basically ready to vote on tonight. If you guys lose the House in 10 months, you have just yourself to blame. And I probably think you know it at this point, because Johnson's out there now saying that, well, in January, we're going to start codifying Trump's orders. Are you? Really? I don't believe you, because you should have been codifying them for the last 11 months. Talk is real cheap. And you guys better not extend those subsidies, or we as voters will never forgive you. Tudor Dixon, host of the Tudor Dixon podcast. All right, this was a huge issue when you ran for governor in Michigan. And I got to say, there seemed to not be getting the message, Tudor.
Well, I know you pointed out that there are a bunch of opportunities to create a bill, but nobody has. Nobody is talking about what the answer is. Even in the 2024 election, healthcare wasn't something we discussed. There was not a Republican out there saying, I have a solution, I have the answer. And you know as well as I know, Carl, if you are explaining, you're losing. And I just heard Speaker Johnson explaining a lot, and he understands that concept as well. He knows that some of his members are in trouble when they are in a purple district, and there are a lot of Democrats saying, oh, they're going to raise the price, because, Carl, I know and you know this is a small portion of the population, but it doesn't matter, because it sounds really good and ads run really well when you say you are making healthcare unaffordable for American people. So the Republicans are in a true pickle here unless they are able to come up with a solution, and I don't hear anybody coming up with a solution.
Right. Well, but that's the thing is, let's bring some of those solutions. Mike Johnson literally wrote a solution in 2023 for this when he was in charge of that working group. And they wrote it with the intent of it being ready to vote on. And now he's not even bringing it to vote.
I agree with you, but I've got a family that I can produce in 10 minutes that has a family of 3. They pay, with the subsidies now, $1,000 a month for health care. Without the subsidies, that goes up to $3,000 a month. Those numbers alone, you play that ad in any district in the country, and people are going to lose their minds and say, no way, I can't vote for this. The Republicans are going to force people to pay another $2,000 a month just to have their health care. And the reality is, if you come up against a health crisis, then you'd pay anything per month to try to get through that health crisis. But that is not something that, again, if you are explaining, you are losing. There has got to be a solution, and we are not putting a legitimate solution forward right now.
Yeah, but why do you think that is?
I think that there has been a focus on everything else, the border, all these other issues, and that actually, those things have to go into legislation too. We also had a government shutdown, and for 7 weeks, the House didn't even meet.
Over healthcare, by the way.
And there haven't been that many weeks that the House has been there. They need to sit down and come to a conclusion as to how to solve this problem, or it is going to come back to haunt us in a major way in the midterms.
Yeah, well, speaking of that, we got the government shutdown probably coming up again in, I don't know, like 40 days, okay? Half of which these people are going to be on vacation opening Christmas presents in their district with their kids. So they don't have a lot of time to write an entire budget. I mean, what is going to happen at the end of January?
Well, you're seeing the Republicans are fighting, and they're going out on national TV and fighting. This is not the time. And I hope that Speaker Johnson gets his caucus under control, because if you have some of these people going on national TV because they want to win their election and they don't feel like they're going to be in the majority, we will know in January if Republicans in Congress think that they will be in the majority again, because their actions on national TV will tell us. And we better make sure that we see a united front, because if we start to fall apart, the president is going to face impeachment with these radical Dems.
Yeah, they're just going to do that for fun on day one when the Democrats get in charge. I look at this, and there's the messaging too, like Afton Bain in Nashville screams about hating people in Nashville and country music, and then was actually like within really close. Like I think Trump won that district by like 22 points, and she lost by 7 or 8.
Look at Virginia. Jay Jones said he wanted to kill his opponent or the House Speaker and his children. He openly said that, and they still vote for him because there are no rules on that side. If you have a D behind your name, you come out and vote. We are not like that. We have got to fight for every voter. And if we're fighting against each other, we're not fighting for our constituents.
Yeah. Well, it's a sad story, but it's true. And I'm just hoping someone's listening to us, Tudor. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, coming up, a new DNI bombshell exposing thousands of known or suspected terrorists flooded into America, all under Biden's reckless border. Wow, that's weird. I'll give you the full report on that later in the show. But first, former special counsel Jack Smith on Capitol Hill in the hot seat, and it was really nice. Today, he was facing all kinds of questions from the House Judiciary Committee, and that's all over his now dismissed prosecution of Donald Trump. Former Trump attorney Christina Bobb is going to join me to break that one down in a sec.
Charlie was the best of America, and the monster who attacked him was attacking our whole country.
Before Charlie Kirk died, he issued a stark warning of terrifying dangers ahead in a new book, Pagan Threat, authored by Pastor Lucas Miles. Charlie said Pagan Threat could save America and that you must read it. Get Pagan Threat free with Newsmax's special offer. Plus, get Dick Morse's new book, The Real Charlie Kirk. 2 great books with our free offer today.
This smart home is going to the Hoyam family so they can live an independent life with their catastrophic injuries.
The whole house is just set up in a perfect way. All of the normal complications of being in a chair. This place is a huge load off for that. The things that Tunnel to Towers Foundation has done is just a lot more than you would ever expect to get in your entire life.
Join us in supporting our nation's heroes and their families. It only takes $11 a month. Go to T2T.org now.
Your parents have given you some amazing gifts, but what about the inherited ones? Celebrate them with Ancestry DNA, the simple test that shows your deep family roots from your mom's side and your dad's side, with some serious detail. Trace the journeys and history that shaped who you are today, and see the traits they passed down. Your connections to the past are all waiting. See just how gifted you are for only $29.
Think of all the places that could expose you to identity theft. LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points per second and quickly alerts you if we detect any suspicious activity, like changes to your investment accounts, home title, or new loans in your name. All through text, phone, email, or the LifeLock app. Get the alerts that could make all the difference. LifeLock, for the threats you can't control.
Lock them up and throw away the key in a long overdue moment of accountability. Still deranged, but former special counsel Jack Smith slid into a closed-door hearing today with the Republican-led House Judiciary Committee. Now, lawmakers seeking answers about Smith's investigation into President Trump, including the alleged hoarding of classified documents at Mar-a-Lago and allegations to overturn the 2020 election. Now, Smith telling lawmakers, apparently, quote, "I've made my decisions in the investigation without regard to President Trump's political associations, activities, beliefs, or candidacy in the 2024 presidential election." Yeah, right. "We took actions based on what the facts and the law required, the very lessons I learned early in my career as a prosecutor." Was that the part of your prosecutorial career before or after the Supreme Court overturned your conviction of the Virginia governor, dude? This all comes as FBI Director Kash Patel confirms that newly released documents did in fact show that the FBI did not have probable cause for raiding the president's Mar-a-Lago estate back in 2022. But the documents show former President Joe Biden's Department of Justice approved the search anyway. So who's going to jail? It better be someone. Christina Bobb, attorney at Judicial Watch, who was the recipient of the warrant at Mar-a-Lago and author of the fantastic new book, Defiant, which talks about that story. All right, Christina, I'm just looking at this and I'm like, it seems so simple to just throw him in jail.
Yeah, well, ironically, you need probable cause to do that. And they did not have probable cause to try to do everything that they did to Donald Trump. I do think we are on the road to probable cause here of certainly maybe abuse of office or some type of obstruction.
Conspiracy against rights?
Exactly. And that's actually a good point. You could take this a couple different ways. You could take it through a civil rights violation, which is a civil process, or you could take it through a criminal process, which I would think Merrick Garland and Christopher Wray would be right at the top, because Merrick Garland came out early on and took ownership of the raid. Christopher Wray obviously would have had to approve it, would have been in on it. Jack Smith, I think, is a little bit harder, although apparently today in his testimony, he did take ownership of the prosecution, but he had not yet been appointed at the time of the raid, so there's some timing issues there. But no, I've been saying for years now that they never had probable cause. There was never any reason to believe that President Trump had done anything wrong, and this was very much a manufactured political hit job, which is what Jack Smith has done throughout his career.
Yeah, that's literally what he does. It was overturned by the Supreme Court once, too. All right, I got to get to this. This is pure comedy. Fani Willis, you remember this person, testified today in front of the Georgia Senate over her attempted prosecution of Trump, and completely, I mean, this is like the worst client in the world. Watch this.
You all want to intimidate people from doing the right thing, and you think that you're going to intimidate me. You all have been trying to intimidate me for 5 years. You see, I'm not Marjorie Taylor Greene. I ain't going to quit in a month because somebody threatens me. I took an oath to do the right thing. People came into my community and committed a crime, and I indicted them.
Her lawyer's over there taking Prozac by the pound.
Yeah, I mean, she looks intimidated to me. She sounds scared. She looks scared. And having been on the receiving end of that multiple times, I'm currently a criminal defendant myself out in Arizona for the same related case as the sham Fani Willis case, which was started through the whole Jack Smith Arctic Frost investigation. It's all connected. Yeah, I have no doubt that she's scared, and she should be, because she cost the taxpayers of Fulton County millions and millions of dollars, to which she gave to her boyfriend. And then they went on these lavish vacations, which supposedly they paid cash, because that's what we do in 2025. Yeah, she should be worried.
You know, speaking of cash, I want to look at something that she had on the table. If we could put that up real quick. This is the purse that she had on the table. So I have some nice, you know, very intelligent women on my team who are like, hey, wait a minute, I think I've seen that before. And there it is, $11,000 purse, it looks like, at least.
Yeah, I mean, that I think is typical for a district attorney who's on a government salary.
Oh, yeah.
Probably making about 6 figures. They spend a tenth of their salary on a purse, I have no doubt. So, yeah, she's not doing herself any favors. She's clearly not the smartest attorney out there. And quite honestly, all of these district attorneys and AGs that took these alternate electors cases, which is what this RICO case was, they're the bottom of the barrel. They're taking directions. They're taking the scraps from Jack Smith that he didn't want to prosecute because he didn't have the bandwidth, he didn't have the time, but they wanted to continue this fear campaign of criminal prosecution. And so they picked up these lower scraps. None of these cases are working. Georgia's been dismissed. Michigan's been dismissed. Arizona's likely about to be dismissed. They're all getting thrown out because they're garbage cases, and they just suck as lawyers.
The other thing is, like, what do you call someone who wins an argument against a liberal? A racist? She played the race card. Roll this.
You want something to investigate as a legislature? Investigate how many times they've called me the N-word. Why don't you investigate that? Why don't you investigate them writing on my house? Why don't you investigate the fact that my house has been swatted? If you want something to do with your time that makes sense. And you can use all this in your campaign ad. You attacked Fani Willis. What have you done, sir? Nothing.
Well, cry harder. We've all experienced that. I've had people showing up to my house. I've had threats against me. You know, we've all experienced that. She's the one that put herself in that position. She's the one that ran for office. She's the one that campaigned and fundraised off of getting Trump and going to Washington, D.C. to try to coordinate with folks in Washington, D.C. to get Donald Trump. And then she doesn't like the limelight and says that people were mean. They said mean things to her. Yeah. You know, cry me a river. Nobody cares.
Yeah, exactly. And you're the one who appointed your boyfriend, Nathan Wade, and paid him a bunch of money to build the taxpayers for like 25 hours a day. Anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Real quick, Epstein files, they're set to be released Friday. And I'm going to go on the record and say they're probably going to, like, someone's probably going to declare war or something to do anything they can to not release these on Friday.
I think that's right. Or there's going to be a glitch and they don't get released, or they are released, but they're heavily redacted. I think this case is going to be around for a long time. And quite honestly, I think we just need a new investigation. It's probably so tainted at this point that just start over. We all know what's happening. We all know that there's survivors out there that are still willing to talk and willing to cooperate. Just start fresh. It's not that hard. So I think this is going to be around for a while.
Well, Christina Bobb, we appreciate you joining us. See you soon.
Thanks, Carl.
All right, in just a few hours, President Trump will address the nation. His primetime speech is set to highlight his historic wins just 11 months into his presidency. The economy, trade deals, world peace, ended 8 wars and border secured, and my man just doesn't stop winning. White House correspondent Mike Carter's live at the White House with the latest. What you got, Mike?
Hey, Carl, we're expecting a heavy emphasis on the economy tonight by President Trump in this 9 o'clock Eastern speech from the diplomatic room here at the White House. Last week, the president grading his economy as an A++++++. Today, the president speaking about his expected speech later tonight.
The message this evening is we inherited a mess, and we've done a great job, and we continue to. And our country is going to be stronger than ever before very soon.
Well, just a day after mixed news in the latest job report showing the economy added more jobs than expected in November, but with unemployment ticking up to 4.6%, the highest in 4 years. Tonight, in a primetime speech, the president expected to once again address the dreaded A word, affordability. Tonight, we expect President Trump to talk about some of his plans to help continue to lower prices for Americans, including $2,000 tariff rebate checks, $1,000 for children in Trump accounts, tariff cutouts for more than 200 food items aimed at lowering grocery costs. Also, 50-year mortgages, something that has been a point of contention among some Republicans. The administration also moving to scrap Biden-era fuel efficiency rules this week. And gas prices, well, they've dipped under $3 per gallon in recent weeks. Tonight, following the president's blockade of Venezuelan oil ships, that country now responding tonight. The Venezuelan government ordering the Venezuelan Navy to escort several ships carrying oil-based products leaving the country's east coast, increasing the risk of a potential confrontation with the United States military.
Just a blockade. Not going to let anybody going through that shouldn't be going through. You remember they took all of our energy rights. They took all of our oil from not that long ago. And we want it back, but they took it. They illegally took it.
All right, again, that blockade aimed at sanctioned oil ships out of Venezuela. We'll see if the president speaks to that tonight, and maybe a direct message to Nicolas Maduro. Carl, I'll leave you with this. This is expected to be a 15-minute speech by President Trump, but as we all know, that he could very much do the weave, go off script, and this could be a much longer speech than expected.
Or he could take 4 hours of questions, which my man does like 3 times a week. So, Mike, we appreciate it.
Good to see you, Carl.
All right, coming up, the more we learn about the shooting at Brown, the more questions I got. Do we really trust any of these officials saying anything? I certainly don't. I'm not going to let this slide. The culture of failure at Brown University next.
Hi, I'm Charlotte McBride. I love working at Newsmax because every day we bring you honest reporting with real conversations, no spin. We're not telling you how to think. We're just giving you the facts and letting you decide what's best for you and your family.
Hi, I'm Ben Cozy. Isn't holiday travel a pain in the neck? You're cramped, uncomfortable, and forget about getting any rest. There's nothing cozy about airplane seats or hard plastic benches, and those so-called travel pillows, they just don't cut it. You don't need another travel pillow. You need Be Cozy, the world's most comfortable neck pillow. Trapped in the middle seat? Wrap Be Cozy around your neck to stop chin drop, bobblehead napping. Smashed up against the window? Fold Be Cozy over and tuck it onto your shoulder for super side support. Frequent flyer miles got you sitting aisle? Turn Be Cozy to the side for the perfect pillow position. Hey, everyone wants to be cozy, so get the world's most comfortable travel neck pillow and be cozy like me, Ben Cozy. You get to be cozy. Everyone gets a Be Cozy. Only Be Cozy has patented overlapping arms so you get double support and the comfort you need in any seat on any trip. Go online right now and get this special holiday offer. Buy one Be Cozy, get one 50% off. So don't wait, get yours now.
There's nothing worse than losing your dog before their time.
That's why I created Dr. Marty Nature's Blend, designed to help dogs with everything from digestive issues to itching, even moving better.
Nature's Blend works because it's freeze-dried. So instead of destroying the nutrients with high heat, they all get right into your dog's body.
Take it from a veterinarian with over 50 years of experience saving dogs' lives. I have never seen a food make this much impact on a dog's health.
For a limited time, get up to 54% off Dr. Marty Nature's Blend, plus a free gift with our special TV offer. Call or go to drmartypets.com/TV.
Now it's a great time to play Solitaire Grand Harvest and enjoy a new world of solitaire. Brr, a cold world. This Christmas, discover all the holiday fun with exciting features from Santa, like our winter tournaments, festive mini games, and challenging levels. Ever built a farm in the snow? Tis the season to turn classic into fantastic. So download Solitaire Grand Harvest for free and see for yourself.
The Wall Street Journal said silver could be the trade of a decade.
Eric Sprott said $250 to $500 an ounce is entirely possible.
Gold recently surpassed its inflation-adjusted all-time high. Silver's inflation-adjusted all-time high is $209 an ounce.
And silver went up 1,300% from 1974 to 1980. Silver's got a lot of room to run.
Give Patriot Gold Group a call at 1-800-778-4156.
Patriot Gold Group is Consumer Affairs' top-rated gold and silver dealer nationwide. The only firm nationwide where you, the client, work directly with an owner. Home of the No Fee for Life IRA. See how easy it is to protect your IRA with physical gold and silver.
Call now, 1-800-778-4156.
It's the Blue Compass RV annual Blue Tag clearance. Save over 40% on select new RVs during our largest sale of the year. Plus, every RV comes with a 1-year VIP membership to RV Complete, a $5,000 value. Visit us online or in store today.
All right, we're going to do a little switch up for Culture Clash today. We're focusing on Brown University and their culture of failure, which once prestigious university. Now, today, Providence police are looking for a person who was in proximity to the person of interest with enhanced photos of what this guy might look like, as well as a map of the area of focus. Okay, that's big. Saying today that they have, quote, found a lot of evidence to help them identify the shooter, including physical evidence and DNA, but they said that like 20 minutes into the press conference. Maybe lead with that. Look, I'm not naming names for legal reasons, but it's safe to say that there's a lot of questions with the entire investigation. And even the Assistant Attorney General, Harmeet Dillon, agrees with me. Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna tweeted out, "I find it suspicious that information has been removed from Brown University's website following the tragic shooting." The removal of a specific person, actually. To which AG Harmeet Dillon responded, "Sus." She said it, not me. Now, the Rhode Island Attorney General, this guy's not worth his weight in water, Peter Nahora, gave some Kamala-style word salad when he was asked about the pages being taken down.
And I think this is an area where caution is really necessary. There are lots of reasons why a page might be taken down, particularly if there's chatter out there. It's easy to jump from someone saying words that were spoken to what those words are, to a particular name that reflects a motive targeting a particular person. That's a really dangerous road to go down. Really dangerous. If that name meant anything to this investigation, we would be out looking for that person. We would let you know we were looking for that person.
That sign language interpreter is more qualified to be AG than that guy. He says, as they purge this person's interest away from like literally every platform, while denying, well, we don't have any leads. And the president of the university, Christina Paxson, says she was unaware of the web pages of Brown University taking them down.
I know nothing about web pages being taken down as part of this. It's the first I've heard of it.
With my $8 billion endowment and $3 million salary. Things that make you say, Former federal prosecutor Doug Burns and former NYPD Chief of Department John Chell. John, you've run an investigation or two in your life. This seems like it was really fumbled.
Yeah, this is getting worse by the day. Optics matter here. Strength matters. You have these press conferences, and it seems like no one's talking before they even get in that room. You don't know who's in charge. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to play politics. They're trying to forecast the path they're going to take with their lack of security. They're trying to catch a killer on the loose. They're not on message, and it's frustrating for everyone. People are trying to play detective, but I'll tell you what is happening, which is getting lost in the sauce here. You know, the men and women, the Providence Police Department, the federal authorities, state authorities are out there working their tails off.
Yeah.
But you're not hearing that because we're getting lost in messaging, and it's gotten so out of control that it's getting worse. We haven't even spoke to the kids that are in that building. Why? Because they weren't swiping in. So you don't know who is in that building. It should be easy, push enter. Here are the kids that were here. Let's get some task force teams together. Let's get targeted questions to ask them. And let's eliminate that. Let's get down with something said or was something not said.
Yeah, well, and Doug, the other thing, too, is like as a prosecutor, one of the first things you're going to ask for, it's like, well, Brown had over 1,200 security cameras across the campus. They brag about facial recognition software, but they don't extend them to every hallway, classroom, laboratory, office. I mean, where do you have them? In the commode?
No, I mean, there are all kinds of legitimate questions about the cameras. Obviously, there's all kinds of legitimate questions working right off of the chief about these press conferences. I mean, I heard the Attorney General of the state say, you know, we're going to need the help of a lot of people to help law enforcement. The shooter should help law enforcement, he said. He then sort of pivoted and said he should turn himself in. But I'll tell you what, it was a red flag for me watching this. It just jumps out at me. But the bottom line is, you know, they don't appear to have the type of surveillance they had in Mangione, unfortunately, but they're going to need the public's help big time, in my opinion.
John, I got 30 seconds here for you. You think they're going to get this guy, or do you think they're going to try to walk this out and hide it?
No, they're eventually going to get him. You know, murder investigations take a long time. They're not that easy, and there's so many different directions you go, but you just got to be very methodical in what you do. And when you have a high-profile murder, you got to give out information, not too much, stand tall, be affirmative, and we're not having these conversations right now.
Yeah, and I love how in one segment they're like, hey, we don't need your help. And the other segment they're like, hey, but we need your help. These people are all just actually ridiculous. Doug Burns, Chief John Chell, we appreciate it.
Okay. My pleasure, Carl.
All right, coming up, Sleepy Joe Biden allowed thousands of actual known terrorists into the country. And this is why open borders are a bad idea. Details next.
Rick Leventhal reported on the biggest stories of our time. Now he's fighting to bring you the truth, no matter what it takes. Watch The Leventhal Report, weeknights at 7 p.m. Eastern on Newsmax 2.
Under President Trump's strong leadership, we're winning. Now President Trump has once again delivered for American consumers. By working alongside great American-built companies like Pfizer, President Trump has negotiated America First prices that put us first, dramatically reducing prescription drug costs, helping over 100 million Americans, and forcing Europe to pay their fair share. Find your medication for the lowest price. Visit TrumpRx.gov. And America First win on prescription prices.
Hi, folks. I'd like to tell you about YRefi. Did you know that as an accredited investor, when you invest in YRefi, your interest rate is fixed? And did you know that you can invest from 1 to 5 years and you can spread your investment over those terms to best suit your needs? And you have the freedom to take your monthly interest income or reinvest it, whatever you choose. When you invest in YRefi, your interest is calculated daily, you're paid monthly, and should you need your money back early, there is a liquidity feature. Would you like more information? All you have to do is call 877-80-INVEST. That's 877-80-INVEST, or log on to investyrrefi.com. That's investyrrefi.com for complete details. And make sure you review the private placement memorandum and scan this QR code to view the disclosure at your leisure. YRefi, investing in America's future.
When Betty and George switched to consumer cellular, it saved them a lot. So they started splurging on date night. No, don't you dare. It's an acquired taste. Right now, get your second month free. Call Consumer Cellular.
Nearly home. Whodunit?
We're looking for a house closer to everything, but we don't know where to start.
Find it with Realtor.com. With Real Commute, it's easy to find a home closer to what's ever close to your heart. Do y'all recycle? Realtor.com.
Douglas trusts Prevagen for his brain, and this is his story.
I'm Douglas, and I'm from Chicago. I was looking for something specifically for my brain. That's when I chose Prevagen. And the confidence I've received from Prevagen allows me to continue to do those things that I love. I have been taking Prevagen for more than 9 years, and it really works for me.
Prevagen has been the #1 selling brain supplement nationwide for over 10 years.
I know that you need a balance of fruits and vegetables. I mean, my grandma told me that, my mom told me that. What's there to lose in taking balance of nature?
This Christmas, get our best price for life when you order the whole health system as a new preferred customer. Go to balanceofnature.com.
Hello, everyone. It's President Donald J. Trump, and it's Trump time. Check out this red beauty. It's one of my new watches. Wear it proudly on your wrist, and everyone will know exactly what it's for, who it represents. It's really going to be something special. It's for your favorite president. Get your watch today at gettrumpwatches.com. These make a great gift. It's Trump time.
Well, Joe Biden's open border policies are not only stupid and reckless, but they're pretty dangerous. The mass migration that Biden allowed into the southern border permitted thousands of known suspected terrorists into the country. Watch this.
NCTC has identified around 18,000 known and suspected terrorists that the Biden administration let come into our country. These are individuals who under normal circumstances would never be allowed to enter our country because of their ties to jihadi groups like ISIS and Al-Qaeda.
Like not 5 or 6, 18,000 dangerous people who should have never been allowed in the first place. This is complete and total national security failure. This goes to show that the Democrats and the Biden administration, they didn't care at all about the American people's safety. They just did whatever they... Unbelievable. Michael Savage, host of Savage Nation. Sir?
Borders, language, culture. The question, though, is why is Mayorkas still out there enjoying himself when he was the one, the head of DHS, who let this happen, in addition to the NGOs, Catholic Charities, Jewish Family Services, whatever it was called, Hebrew Immigrant Aid Society, Baptist Family Services. They were taking in billions of dollars to bring in illegal aliens against the will of the American people. There's not been one indictment.
Right.
So we can scream all we want, and it's all true, but we're not getting justice. I've heard your show. It's on every level. We don't seem to see any arrests. I mean, in reality.
Oh, yeah, the same thing with, I mean, let's go back to Eric Holder. The dude ran guns to the Mexican drug cartel that shot and killed an American Border Patrol agent. Nobody went to jail for that one. I mean, and then you've got this guy, Ma'am Danny. He's like, the mini socialist. He's getting a reality check with his budget, actually. Already facing a projected $2.1 billion shortfall. Hadn't even taken office.
But it doesn't matter to them. They know they're going in with a budget deficit. This is nothing new to them. They're just going to tax the middle class who is stuck in the city. These
White
people
They're
can't leave.
going to tax
The
white
rich can
neighborhoods.
leave. Look, people who have a lot of money can leave New York. People in the middle class who have jobs can't suddenly get up and leave. The ones with the little brick houses like I grew up in Queens, they cannot sell their house. Real estate's going to collapse in New York, number one. Where are they going to move? Where are they going to go? So he's just going to tax them. Anyone who owns property, like at every socialist government on earth, whether it be Cuba or some other country, they're the ones who are going to pay for all of these insane policies of this lunatic.
No, seriously. And reportedly, he just hired a lawyer who apparently defended Al-Qaeda, and an Al-Qaeda member after 9/11, as his chief counsel. I mean, you can't make this up. Is Ramzi Qassem, a law professor at City University in New York, who was already on the transition team, represented a close ally of Osama bin Laden. Now, to be fair, I mean, this guy's got all kinds of ties to all kinds of wacky people, but look, John Adams did represent the British after the Boston Massacre, but
oh wow, that's quite a jump, because I don't think this guy is like John Adams.
I'm kidding, obviously.
I know, I understand the joke. Look, years ago, I wrote a book called, I think, Government Zero, and it was about, can America survive after the Obama administration, or restoring America after the Obama? I don't know that we're going to survive after the Biden administration. In other words, the egregiousness of his actions against sanity and against the stability and safety of the people are so vast, I don't know that we can actually fix them.
Yeah. Well, but also, here's the other problem, too. Ilhan Omar, she's a representative. Yeah. She's out there apparently lying about Homeland Security pulling over her son and letting him go once he showed a passport. But she tweeted this, and ICE is like, we have absolutely no record of this whatsoever.
Right. Well, she's, I think, a professional liar. She's gotten where she is using racism as a weapon, screaming race in a crowded nation. She knows how to work the system, which is always scream racism, 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 no matter what happens. And if there is no racism, invent it. And then wear the holy rag on your head so everyone bows down to you and is afraid to say a word. I'm sick of it all. This one of all of them, you know, it's not bad enough to rip the country off, but it's really bad that you rip the country off and spit in the face of the people who you're ripping off. I've had enough of her, and I don't know why they can't find her connection to that billion-dollar fraud in her state. How did she not know when it's her exact community that was doing most of the robbing? How is she not indicted for this?
I'm going to clip that and put that on social media because that's exactly how I feel. Michael Savage, we got to leave it right there.
Okay, I'm glad you enjoyed my diatribe.
I love it. All right, coming up, President Trump set to tout the success of his first year back in office, especially when it comes to the economy. That and more next.
Hi, I'm Ben Cozy. Isn't holiday travel a pain in the neck? You're cramped, uncomfortable, and forget about getting any rest. There's nothing cozy about airplane seats or hard plastic benches, and those so-called travel pillows, they just don't cut it. You don't need another travel pillow. You need Be Cozy, the world's most comfortable neck pillow. Trapped in the middle seat? Wrap Be Cozy around your neck to stop chin drop, bobblehead napping. Smashed up against the window? Fold Be Cozy over and tuck it onto your shoulder for super side support. Frequent flyer miles got you sitting aisle? Turn Be Cozy to the side for the perfect pillow position. Hey, everyone wants to be cozy, so get the world's most comfortable travel neck pillow and be cozy like me, Ben Cozy. You get to be cozy. Everyone gets a Be Cozy. Only Be Cozy has patented overlapping arms so you get double support and the comfort you need in any seat on any trip. Go online right now and get this special holiday offer. Buy one Be Cozy, get one 50% off. So don't wait, get yours now.
Joining us is Dr. Drew from the Wellness Company with advice for dealing with seasonal colds and flu. Doctor?
Cold and flu season is here, and every year you or a loved one gets sick. Your doctor can't see you. Waiting in a crowded urgent care is brutal. This is a particularly bad cold and flu season, and it's why doctors suggest every family needs an emergency medical kit. Your medical emergency kit is filled with essential prescriptions. It includes antibiotics like generic Z-Pak to get well faster, amoxicillin for pneumonia, strep throat, ear infections, plus prescriptions for nausea and UTIs, and even ivermectin. It's easy. Just match your symptoms to the prescription in your guidebook or call the telemedicine doctor standing by. Take your medication early and feel better faster. Having a medical emergency kit is like having an urgent care in your home. No waiting to see a doctor, no lines at the pharmacy.
Smart advice. We've shared the website and discount code below to save viewers $45. Order now and your kit will be rushed to your door. Thank you, doctor.
How would you live your life differently if you knew it was only a matter of time before you went completely deaf and blind? I have Usher syndrome, a rare condition that's causing me to lose all of my vision and hearing at the same time. I'm a fighter, trying to hold on to what I still have. But I can't do it alone.
Donald Trump tonight is going to try to talk about his accomplishments, but it's going to be a very short speech because Donald Trump calls affordability a hoax. He gives himself an A+++ on the economy, as Professor Warren said. Everyone would like to self-grade in her classes, too.
Yeah, I'm about 1/64th sure that she'd get a passing grade. Okay. Senate Democrats are trying to get in front of President Trump's address tonight, knowing full well that they have nothing positive to run on other than opposition. That's all they do. They don't do anything positive. But Trump's bringing jobs back, okay? Democrats are just fighting for illegal immigrants and drug smugglers. They'll be stuck eating crow after the president speaks tonight, hopefully. Economist and former Naval Intelligence Officer John Jordan and chief economist at the Heritage Foundation, EJ Antoni. All right, John. So I'm not going to get too far ahead, but look, the reason unemployment ticked up, and we talked about this yesterday, is because he's gotten rid of 275,000 government jobs too.
Yeah, what you see here right now is the reprivatization of the workforce, and that was one step in that direction. But big picture here, Carl, what we have going on here is this tension between the narrative, the media, and the Democrats, which are the same thing, and Chuck Schumer want to push, which is that the economy's in free fall, it's in collapse. They know that 70% of the American economy is consumers, and they want to shape views on the economy to try to make it a self-fulfilling prophecy. The problem is this narrative building by them is running up against hard data. For example, real incomes are now exceeding inflation. We had having a booming holiday season. The consumer is not crumbling like the media wants to say it is. Inflation is coming down. Energy costs are way, way down. And this is all trending the right way. And now we have the results of the big, beautiful bill. Withholding tables are going to be reset. No tax on tips. No deductibility for expensing of capital expenditure. A lot of things are going the president's way.
Right.
And the media still is trying to push this narrative. So that's a conflict.
Yeah. EJ, listen to MS Now. Michael Steele, a once Republican, by the way, praised Biden for the economy. Roll this ridiculousness.
We want to go back to the Biden administration, Mr. Vance. Let's start there and recognize what he came in the door with, what the transition was for him, and what he left with, restabilizing the economy, getting prices to start to come down, having dealt with inflation at 9% to get it down to roughly 3%.
Are they blowing weed in the vent system over there? I mean, he had 9% inflation.
Carl, that's absolutely amazing. Saying that Biden had to deal with 9% inflation, we should have sympathy for him. Right? I mean, that's like saying we should have sympathy for Joseph Stalin for having to deal with all the famines in Eastern Europe that, oh, wait, he himself caused in the first place. I mean, you could not come up with a more laughable excuse for the senile old man that was Joe Biden. He and his ridiculous policies and those of the radical left, the government spending, borrowing, and printing too much money, those were the things that caused 40-year high inflation and caused the fastest rise in interest rates in just as long, that thoroughly impoverished the American middle class, and that gave us the affordability crisis with which we are still dealing today. So no, I have no sympathy for the people that caused the problem. I'm not going to thank the arsonist who's now pretending to be the fireman.
Right. And John, I got 30 seconds for you, to solve complex international economics here. But President Trump, complete and total blockade of sanctioning Venezuelan oil tankers. That's 85% of their economy. What happens from here?
Yeah, it shuts it down completely. But the story that every other news outlet is missing, Carl, is there is a chemical called naphtha, and that is something which thins out Venezuelan crude, which you pointed out many times, is too thick to throw through pipelines and put on ships. And guess where Venezuelan naphtha comes from? It comes from Russia. So now Vladimir Putin may be involved, and this could be a real embarrassment for the Putin regime if the Venezuelan economy comes to a standstill, because without that additive, Venezuelan oil is largely, in many ways, unexportable.
Ruh-roh. Bad for them, good for us. John, EJ, appreciate it.
Thank you, Carl.
All right, well, before we go, who let the dogs out of their taxes? We'll tell you more next.
The press won't report the real story.
The American people are actually very smart.
Ridiculous statements.
These guys are just plain weird.
Actual scandals.
Even the immunity decision. I mean, that decision was so misreported.
That's my job, and I aim to do it every night.
Hello, everyone. It's President Donald J. Trump, and it's Trump time. Check out this red beauty. It's one of my new watches. Wear it proudly on your wrist, and everyone will know exactly what it's for, who it represents. It's really going to be something special. It's for your favorite president. Get your watch today at gettrumpwatches.com. These make a great gift. It's Trump time.
Radical
jihadists are not done. Iran promises death to America. They've built sleeper terror cells in the U.S. They support terror groups out to destroy Israel, including Hamas, whose founding charter calls for Islam to dominate the world.
The young people have been educated to believe that the most sacred thing they do is stab a Christian in the heart.
The only democracy in the Middle East that supports religious freedom is Israel. Standing for freedom, not terror.
I am a coach and an alum of Girls on the Run. Kids today carry a lot of stress, from school pressure to social isolation to overuse of devices. We create a space where girls can connect, build confidence, and learn skills like managing emotions, setting goals, and speaking up. Each child's experience is different, and families need support. I'm proud to be part of a comprehensive solution to youth mental health. Get involved today at EmpowerOurFutureCoalition.com.
Israel, the birthplace of our faiths for Christians and Jews. That Christmas morning, wise men brought gifts from outside the Holy Land. But in this year of war, this Holy Land and her people are living in fear, and many of the elderly are alone and suffering. Like the wise men or wise women, would you open your heart and give a special holiday food box to someone here in Israel this Christmas, Hanukkah season?
Right now, the hardships in Israel are felt by everyone. People like Hannah, who can't buy food. That is where the fellowship comes in. That's where the fellowship is called. Baruch Hashem. To feed the hungry.
Happy Hanukkah.
Through the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews, your special holiday gift of just $25 can answer their prayers this Hanukkah and Christmas season.
It's people like Chaya that you can touch.
Please call, scan, or go online now to help rush emergency food and healing to elderly Jews and their Christian neighbors struggling to rebuild their lives from the war.
You are a Christian. Those words of Isaiah, that the Spirit of the Lord is upon you. There we go. You're bringing hope. You're bringing tomorrow on the table to her and to so many others. What will happen? Amen. When tens of millions of Christians and millions of Jews together, we make this holy day season holy indeed.
All right, some breaking news in like the last 30 seconds. The House passes a GOP health care legislation to lower health care costs. I don't know how they're going to do that, but it does not include the extension of the ACA subsidies. It passed 216 to 211. Now it goes on to the Senate. See what happens there. But like the old saying goes, a dog is a man's best friend, but trying to claim your dog as a dependent on your tax returns could be a step too far. Now, Amanda Reynolds is suing the IRS, God bless her, to recognize her dog, Finnegan Mary Reynolds, as a dependent. Yep, you heard that right. She is asking the court for pets to be recognized as non-human dependents under federal tax law. I don't think we should pay any taxes at all, but Amanda, you're on the right track. Claims her 8-year-old dog has no independent income. Well, the yearly costs to take care of this dog are over $5,000 with food, shelter, medical care, training, transportation, daily living, whatever. And the best part is that Amanda is a lawyer, so I'm pretty sure she can afford to take care of her dog just fine without the tax benefits. But anytime we get to take money out of the IRS's hands, Rob, I love it.
And anyone that wants to sue the IRS.
Hey, look, that's Rumple.
My vote.
That's one of my producer's dog.
Oh.
It's like a buffalo wing.
No, it's like a dog show and tell now. Oh, okay. All right. That's a cute dog.
All right. Let her rip,
Rob. All right. Thanks, Carl. Good to see you. No problems with suing the IRS. That's fine by me.
Love it.